Hello and welcome to a brief video lecture during which I want to introduce you to the Document Standards Manual. I wanted to also show you how prevalent these types of documents are in the work world and your likelihood of encountering them, and also kind of point you in the direction of some examples that you could use to build your own Document Standards Manual. Okay, the Document Standards Manual is basically what I'm calling this assignment. Sometimes I just refer to it as the manual, and but it does go by different names in the wild. The first one, the one that I've been using, Document Standards Manual, but you might also find it as Corporate Communications Manual or Corporate Communications Policy Manual. We also see sometimes the word identity or branding put into the name of this document. So basically, we're kind of talking about some different kinds of documents. Not all of these are exactly the same, but there's a great deal of overlap. So I just wanted to show you what I came up with, some examples, just by doing a Google search for some of these key terms. So let's take a look. Okay, so when I searched for Document Standards Manual, I found a variety of documents. I did notice probably a pretty wide range of types of documents here, because some of them are like protocol manuals for doing certain standards in a highly technical field, so not necessarily about document standards, but just looking through these, here's one that I found by looking for Document Standards Manual. And so USAID, the U.S. Agency for International Development, so they call themselves USAID, and this is a pretty lengthy manual. Goes on for probably 100 pages, and mainly it's a branding or brand identity type manual. So we see like the use of the logo here, and then it's got these indicators in a light blue talking about the different parts of the logo and familiarizing you with it. And this seems a little bit like some additional documentation at the beginning of this manual. We don't have an actual cover of this manual, but then we get into our brand heritage. So maybe there was a cover, before this first page, and then we go down a little bit, and then we get to the table of contents. So basically everything before the table of contents we would call front matter, and everything after the table of contents we're going to call the body of the document, and there may also be some material at the end that will be the back matter. So table of contents, we see it broken down here, and we can't really tell how many pages there are because each section or chapter restarts the page numbering. So and I think there are like 7 or 17 different, I guess 7 different sections in here. So we've got everything from brand summary, graphic identity, sub-brands, brand application. As we go down, we have controlling imagery and publications. So as lengthy as this document is, you may actually find some really good information in it. Just remember, and I'll probably say this several times, that we want to kind of balance the communications policies, so especially dealing with written forms of communication like letters, memos, emails, newsletters, brochures, those types of reports, written documents, as opposed to some of this that's really more kind of logo usage and controlling the brand. So, but we do see that they're very thorough in this document. They get down to talking about how to format different types of documents. And I'm just going to kind of whiz through this a little bit because there is a lot of content here. But I wanted to you to get an overall sense of this. So um, we do see, in fact, a section labeled external communications, and we're going to be doing internal and external communications in our document. Updated logo, the brand mark, using the manual, brand summary. We see different types of documents down here. You see a lot of this business card, contractor stationery, and how they're pointing out different things that are going on in these different documents. So we're going to be creating similar policies in our document, and they're showing their standard disclaimer that's required on all their documents, standard graphic identity, and you can see it's very extensive. It just goes on and on and on. Typography, so they're acceptable and preferred typefaces, and ones that are strongly discouraged or not allowed at all. So we see their color palette. Signage, events, promotional items, event materials, vehicles, their website, which is something that we're going to be dealing with in our document standards manual. On-air graphics for television programs, materials, templates for different types of documents, fax, press releases. They do something that they call a company profile, different case studies, so different types of reports, or what some people call white papers. They have to be formatted in a particular way. Slide presentations, so PowerPoint, those are written documents, so we can include policies like that in our documents. Okay, and they even go into page layout and design, and using different grid systems and different column widths, and I think pretty comprehensive branding manual. And I think we're just about at the end here. Tables and how they should be formatted, how they should look. Print newsletters, posters, exhibits. Okay, and then we go back up to the top. So if you want to look at this again, this is the Graphic Standards Manual for the U.S. Agency for International Development, otherwise known as USAID. So you have that for future reference. Okay, and then the next search that I did was for Corporate Communications Manual, and let me show you some of the results that I came up with there. So this one, a town called Kitchener, and I've forgotten exactly where this town is, but you can see from the table of contents we have logo usage, city crest, fonts, stationery, templates, ads, clothing, banners, flags, additional material. We also see this kind of introduction here, and we're going to have a section similar to that in our document. Logo usage, acceptable and unacceptable uses of the logo, color, they get into margin allowance for the different uses of the logo, So again, primarily a branding type document. Use of the city crest, so reserved for the most formal uses. So you wouldn't just stick that on a newsletter. It's probably for particular types of documents. Stationery. This applies to what we're going to be doing in our document. Letterhead and envelopes, reports, memos, and faxes. Templates for different types of documents. Brochures, PowerPoint, staff manuals, newspaper ads, recruitment ads, clothing, banners, so flags. So we don't need to get into much of this merchandise in our document, but I do want you to focus on types of written communication and developing policies for that. So, okay, and I think we're at the end of that. So once again, back to the top, this is the Kitchener Corporate Standards Manual. Looks like they're Canadian by looking at their address, kitchener.ca. Okay, here we have the South African Customs Union Corporate Identity Manual, or I think I found this by looking for Corporate Communications Manual. So, corporate identity controls, stationary controls, identity application signage. So, how to use the identity manual, corporate signature, colors, typefaces, letterhead, and you can see how they're talking about the spacing of the different elements. We don't see actual policies about composing the letter and what are good things to say or any required statements or anything like that. But we are getting some information about format for it. We have other stationary controls, fax sheet, presentation folders, external signage, vehicles. So hopefully by now you're starting to see some similarity between these different types of documents. And then I think the final search that I did was for Corporate Identity Manual, and here are some examples that I found from that. A couple of them here are actually compilations of manuals, so I'm going to link those up to our D2L page, and this is one of them. Kind of an odd name for a website, Logo Design Love. And this article is Identity Style Guides from Around the World. So, last updated February 2016. And so there's something like 80 different style manuals here. And so I'll link that up to our D2L page. And you can kind of go at it and find some sample policies and get a better understanding of the assignment by looking through these examples. Okay, and then the next one I've got here, the Alberta Government Corporate Identity Manual. So this is Alberta, Canada, and we're seeing different sections: corporate identity elements, Alberta signature, emblems of Alberta, and this is kind of in a it looks like it might be a PowerPoint presentation because the pages are landscape, or else this publication was just designed this way and was designed to be printed this way. So don't need to dwell on this too much. We're seeing much of the same again. And again, topography and photography. They have their own photo library, background textures. I think some of these are for PowerPoint presentations, but that may come up later as well. So their signature and controlling how that's used. Again, these are primarily branding concerns rather than communications policies per se. So do try to develop more than just branding statements in your document. And we're seeing different types of documents here with different logos on them. And unacceptable uses with a slash through them. And the coat of arms, again, a very formal image to be using, so very limited usage on that. Their flag, different products, so we get into stationery, business cards, letterheads, other types of stationery, presentation folders, and I think we're into PowerPoint presentations. Some type of fact sheets that they use have to follow a standard format. And vehicles. And iPhone wallpapers. They thought of everything. Okay. So, again, this is Alberta, Canada, Corporate Identity Manual. And the next one here. And the next one here is for someone called Senior, Corporate Identity Manual. Again, it's more of a landscape style document. And we see that, that talking about the logo and typefaces and color. And when they talk about the logo, they break it down into various aspects of it. Acceptable and unacceptable uses of it. Typefaces, color. Okay, and this was Sener, S-E-N-E-R, and then this one is 20 inspiring branding guides. So there's 20 of them here, and so I'll link those up to our D2L page, and you can look at those on your own. Please do. You get lots of ideas. And then this site is this site is 50 meticulous style guides every startup should see before launching. And so 50 different style guides, and encourage you to check these out. So these are professional examples, and just wanted to show you how prevalent these types of documents are in the real world. I'll show you some student examples in class, but can't show those to you online. So, we'll talk more about the different components of the assignment. In the meanwhile, start thinking about who you might do this for. You might return to the company that you did your employment packet for. You might do the company you did your website analysis for if you did someone else for that. And parts of those assignments can actually be used in developing this assignment. So think who you might do this for and start thinking of types of communications that they engage in, and we'll also brainstorm some policies. So be ready to talk about that more in class. Thank you for your time.